Hello, it is me, Melanie Browning, here with another Spotlight interview. And tonight's guest is another very special guest. This one has been a long time in the making. I have been so fortunate to be able to interview a lot of the people that, because of him, were able to participate in a series show called The Beans, and he is here. Let me invite him on now. I'm so excited. Hold on here real quick. So go ahead, click on there, and let's get you on here. Hey, Kim. Hi, Craig. Hi, sweetie. Thank you for those joining in. Let's see. Okay, I sent it over. Hopefully, I'm not seeing you. All right. Hold on. I wonder if something happened because now I'm not seeing Geoffrey on here. Are you there, Geoffrey? Where'd you go? I think he might have had to jump off for a minute. Oh, I'd love to have you on, Craig, but hold on, let me work this one out real quick. Let's see. I don't know. We know this worked earlier. Okay, here we go. Let me try again, Geoffrey. Did it pop up? Find out in a second.
Did that do it?
There we go. That did it. Awesome.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm computer challenged. It's hard to imagine that I spend all this time writing scripts on my computer and I can't get a video thing started. So it's great to be on.
You just keep writing, man. Just keep writing. We'll take care of the rest. You're here.
Right.
You got on. You figured it out. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're on my list though, Browning, because you're on my list because I had to put on a clean shirt to do this, and you know that's.
We won't tell them.
I know, right?
You're looking great. Thank you so much for joining me. I understand the pain of like getting back on Instagram and doing all this, and I really do appreciate it. And that really kind of goes for those of you that may not know Geoffrey yet. This really does show who he is. He is a very giving person and willing to share, and just you seem like a lover of life too. That's another thing that really just stands out to me. Just being on set and how you interact with everyone. There's just, even when everything's not going just 100% spot on, which it went really well actually on the set, but you really maintain your cool and positive vibe. Is that something that you've kind of had your whole life?
Well, you know, you can go through life happy or you can go through life miserable. And I've always chose to go through life happy and always look for the silver lining in anything, you know. And I just, you know, I get up every day and I don't even have to make a decision to be happy. Sometimes I do, you know, we all go through down days, but yeah, I mean, I've always been a happy person. And
that's awesome.
yeah, and on set, it's even, I mean, if anyone's ever been on a set, they know that, you know, as we were speaking earlier, Melanie, you know, actors and people in the film business, we're all egomaniacs with inferiority complexes, you know. So
I love that.
So, you know, it's already, you're going on to this set and, you know, your performance or whatever you do, it really gets, you know, you're put out in front of the world. And so if the set is a cold, callous place and there's egos going on and there's strong personalities and people are not cool to each other, it makes it a really tense, horrible place. And then you can tell it was a terrible set when the product comes out. And so when you have a fun set and you have a lot of people who are interacting on a level, you know, and just having a great time, because let's face it, you know, 1/10 of one percent of us will even get an opportunity to ever do anything that gets seen by a lot of people. So, you know, we don't do this because we want to be stars. We do this because we love what we do. And if you do it for that reason and you become a star, so be it. But if not, just have a great time doing it.
Absolutely. It's just, there's a joy that comes with it. And we were able to speak on that earlier. It's just, there's just something just so powerful in it, in the interaction and in the creation, I believe. Now I'm curious, when did you get started, or when did you know that, you know, you wanted to be a writer, especially for film?
I never wanted to be a writer for film. I was dared into it.
Ooh.
So I was, you know, I just turned 60, but when I was roughly 40, I was with a girlfriend, and it just happened to be a time that Hollywood was putting out a lot of garbage. I mean, just like nothing that was coming out was good. And, you know, I always loved film. And so, you know, I said to her on the way out, I said, this is just, you know, it's like the third movie we've been to that's just sucked. And I hate going to movies and wasting my time and having to pay $15 to go see a great movie, you know, a movie, and it's terrible. So I said, you know, these suck. I could do a lot better than this. She says, well, then do it. So I kind of got dared into it. And so I went and I had an idea for a movie, and I just sat down. I got some screenwriting software called Script Buddy, which you could write your first, great software, by the way, if anyone wants to write their first screenplay for free. Scriptbuddy.com. I don't own a stock in there or anything. So I went home and I just started writing, and what do you know, my first script. I wrote my first script. So and it was terrible. I have rewritten it since, and it's pretty good now. Yeah. But I never expected to be a screenwriter. As I said, I was kind of dared into it, and so I love a good challenge. And then once I did it, I was hooked. I mean, I wanted to be a screenwriter, especially considering somebody who I sent it to said, this is really kind of good. Because the story was good. It's just I didn't format it right. You know, screenwriting is heavily formatted, skewed to formatting. And if it's not formatted right, you know, it's not easily understood. And that's easy to do. That's the easiest part. The hardest part is coming up with the whole story, and the beginning and the ending are usually what we have. It's the middle that's is difficult to come up with. But yeah, so it was. Then I got bitten by the bug, and I think you've been bitten by the bug too, haven't you?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Slightly. It's hard not to, isn't it?
It is. And it's just, especially when you find like that safe space. And that's really what I found. I'm so grateful for Cameron for just even making the connection, saying, hey, reach out to these people. I was new to Arizona, and like, I didn't know, like, you know, I grew up in LA, and when I was, you know, back in the day where you had the stapled headshot with the resume in the back, and you just stand in line and wait, and you get yelled at, all the horrible things said to your face. And then, you know, I didn't do anything for a very long time, went to Utah and found some amazing, beautiful people up there. And I was like, wow, the industry's really changed. And I soon came to find out it was, you know, I believe the industry is changing a lot, but also it's the community. And so when I was moving down to Arizona, I didn't know what to expect. And it seemed like a little bit more competitiveness down here. And then just instantly I contacted you. I didn't know what to, you know, I was just kind of like, and just right away, you were just so welcoming. And I was very, very happy to have met you, and then everyone on the set. It was just so beautiful, and just, it felt like a family. Everything was clicking. And I would just, like, the whole time I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I couldn't have asked for anything better to just be able to be in this environment. So that kind of bug, that's what is I've gotten bitten by. And just, it's amazing when I can find people like that. So I applaud you for creating that environment, that kind of safe space there. And I'm so happy to have found that. So you're
Well,
amazing.
I just want everybody to know, because a lot of times you don't necessarily know much about the host. So I'm going to go ahead and call out the host right now and just tell you a little bit about Melanie. So she contacted me and wanted to get on the set of Beans, and she's like, I will come down from Prescott, and I will come. And I'm like, well, I really don't have money, to pay you. I've kind of, she's like, I don't care. I just want to come down. I just want to be a part of it. And she came down 2 days in a row. Was there 2 days in a row. Now, granted, she does have a friend in Phoenix, so, but that she stayed with. But she came on set and was there from morning till, what did we work some god awful time, like 2 in the morning, and then there was a rainstorm, like I'm not talking about a monsoon, and we were standing out drenched in the rain trying to keep the cameras off, from getting wet, and Melanie did all of this for nothing.
There was coffee. There was
coffee. There was coffee, and I paid for coffee. Yep, that's right. That's right, folks. I paid for coffee, and that's why Melanie was there. If I didn't pay for coffee on a set called Beans, what kind of guy would I be? Huh?
That would be
right?
horrible. Yeah, there'd be a whole different story.
Thank you so much. You did such a great job as a scriptie, basically. And Melanie kept it all together. She was kind of the glue that held it all together.
Yeah. Right.
She was the buffer between me and Vincent too, because Vincent, the director, and Vincent was just trying to get me off the set. Because when you're a writer and you don't, and then you have a director, the director never doesn't want the writer anywhere near his set.
That's awesome.
Stay away.
So let's jump into like this. You have this plethora of writings. How did you get to there? How did you go from, okay, I can do this, to now build up just so much work that's now getting ready for production and moving forward?
Well, so when the bug bit me, I decided I was only going to write big budget Hollywood movies, because why do something small like a short or something when I could do a big budget movie? And I was living in Florida at the time, or I ended up in Florida after a bunch of different things happened in my life, and I ended up meeting this girl, and she said, my brother is a producer in Hollywood. I'm like, really? Yeah, everyone knows a producer. And he had produced Lost in Space, Judicial Consent, Black Dog with Patrick Swayze. He was big. In fact, he had 2 films in the top 10. That was his claim to fame. And Lost in Space knocked Titanic out of first place after it was in first place for like 200 weeks in a row or whatever. So that was another. So he was the real deal. And I had this one script that I had written. I told you that was terrible. And she said, well, let's send it to my brother. And of course, her brother wanted nothing to do with it. You want nothing to do. And I sent it to him, and it was, kind of terrible. It was okay, but it wasn't, anything good enough for Hollywood. And I was 40 years old. I had decided to go back to school, to college. So I went back to college. I lived in the dorms with all the kids. And it was a great time in my life, actually. I had so much fun. I was an anomaly. Just epic proportions, And so it was the writer's strike, and Carrie, the girl I had been going out with, and we were still going out. She said, my brother, she says, I want you to write this Christian-based script, and I'm Jewish, so I wanted nothing to do with her. I wanted nothing to do with her brother, because he poo-pooed my one script, and it was the greatest script. At that point, I thought it was the greatest script in the world, because everybody, screenwriter, thinks their scripts are the greatest scripts in the world, So I was at school, and she calls me and she says, there's a writer's strike on, and there was literally a strike for the Writers Guild, and so the producers couldn't do anything. She says, my brother can't do anything. She said, he told me if you wrote the script she wanted me to write. It was about 6 kids in Medjugorje, Yugoslavia, who saw an apparition in Mother Mary in 1983. It's a true story. And then the whole world found out about it. And Medjugorje, this little tiny farming town of 600 people, became this, now it's still a mecca for people to come to, because Mother Mary appeared on a hill to these little kids. And it was in war-torn Yugoslavia. Oh, just super cool story. I didn't know anything. Finally I listened to the tape of the story that she wanted me to write. And so I said, okay, I'll write it. She says, Mark will read it if you write it. And he's interested. So I wrote it literally in like a week in a blinding snowstorm in Ashland, Oregon, in my dorm room, and sent it to him. And he called me an hour late after I sent it to him. I didn't even tell him I was sending it. He must have just been on his computer. And he says, I love this story. I'm going to option it. He says, but I can't make it right now because I've already told Hollywood I'm going to make a story about Paul the Apostle. And I'm like, who? I'm Jewish. I don't know Paul the Apostle. So he goes, but I just got the script from an A-list writer, and I don't like it. I paid him a lot of money to do it. And I said, okay, well, do you mind if I take a stab at it? He goes, yeah, but it's going to take you weeks and I need something right away. I'm going to have to over this writer. I literally, in a blinding snowstorm, I went down to the library, which was the only thing that was open on campus because it was Christmas break. And I was, and I did some research on this cat, Paul the Apostle. And he was a cool cat. He was God's first, he was, God's first avenger, and Jesus knocked him off his horse on the way to Damascus. So I came up with this really cool way to tell it. It was a prison story where this kid tells has to go in for his final practicum in college to minister to these prisoners, and he changes their lives like Paul's life was changed. And I sent him the first 30 pages, and he called me literally crying, saying, I love it. He goes, if the rest of it is this good, he goes, I will option it too. I'll pay you $2,500 for each one of those 2 scripts, and I will move you to Los Angeles immediately and put you up at the beach, and you can write for me. And I finished that script, and he loved it, and he optioned it, and he gave me another $2,500 on a future script, and he moved me down and put me up at the beach in a beachfront hotel for 3 months writing for him. My second, third, and fourth scripts I ever wrote got optioned. It was, any screenwriters who are out there, that's not how it's supposed to work. Truly, I was blessed, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
You knew you could do it. You got that I could do better than that. It was something that was told to you, and you went out and did. That's so cool that you knew it and you went and did it, and are continuing to do it. That's, oh my goodness, it's so powerful. And that's why I try to tell people, when you get that knowing, just go and do it. It's just, oh my goodness, it's give me chills. So that's awesome.
It was super cool, and it was a time in my life, I didn't know what I was going to do when I was 40 years old, so I went back to college. I lasted a semester and a half, and then I left college and to become a screenwriter. I mean, who wouldn't leave Ashland? Ashland's a cool place, but I literally put all my stuff in the back of a U-Haul because my car would not make it over the hill because I was so poor. I couldn't even afford cigarettes, and at that point I was a cigarette smoker. And so I put every last penny I had. Mark sent me a little bit of money to come down, and I ended up in Venice Beach. I left in a snowstorm, and I got to Venice Beach, and I was in cutoffs, and he ended up meeting me and putting me up in this hotel. It was amazing. It was like one of those Hollywood rags to riches stories. And pretty soon I was getting asked to come onto reads, and to have producers wanted me to read scripts for them, to give them advice on scripts, and Yeah, it was amazing. It was a truly amazing time. And, you know, from there, it just, I had some issues that that particular producer ended up having some Me Too problems, and which is why I now write under Geoffrey Goldstein rather than my birth name, Geoffrey Barthel, because I had to distance myself from him. But that's Hollywood. Things happen, and it was an amazing time in my life, and I'm very grateful that it happened that way. And now here I am in Arizona.
That's awesome, and I'm so glad you're here. And I know you have a lot going on. What is it? Is there anything right now that you can share about what you have going on, or what people need to be on the lookout for? If there's other writers out there that are looking for more inspiration, or actors or other people in the film industry looking to see what you might have going on.
So I literally took 5 years off of life, lived in my car on the streets of Los Angeles in my Tahoe with my dog Buddha, and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I could afford to get a place, but I just wanted to have no mail and basically no phone. I had a phone still, but I went into the library and wrote, and I just filled up my hard drive with scripts, and now they're all for sale. So I have one script called CowBoy, the Legend of Billy Tate that got, it was a strange story about that. I decided to quit screenwriting because I had another problem with a producer in LA. So I moved to LA twice, and then moved back to Phoenix twice, and I decided to quit. But I had all these scripts on my hard drive, and I ran into an old friend who was a producer from high school, and he said, "What do you have?" And so I sent him a few scripts, and he loved CowBoy, and it's a Western, and he says, "I know this producer. He won the Academy Award for Schindler's List. His name is Gerald Molen, and he did Tootsie, he did Catch Me If You Can, he did Jurassic Park. He was Steven Spielberg's right-hand man." And he says, "And I think this is the kind of script that Molen would like." And I mean, that's the moment of truth. I mean, with the at least with Mark Koch, I did have this sister to connect us. So and although Mark loved my scripts and he paid me some good money to write for him and do some other work for him, I never had. I mean, Gerald Molen is like, he's Steven Spielberg level. He's done $6 billion worth of sales, right? So the producer optioned my CowBoy, my friend from high school, and he sent it to Gerald Molen, and Gerald Molen hopped on and said it was a great script, one of the best he's seen in a long time, and he's now the executive producer. So we're in the process of looking for funding for that, $13 million. If anybody is interested, please get a hold of me.
See, I don't have my stacks of millions around me yet.
I got you. No, we've got a couple of really good. We were flying pretty high until COVID hit, and then Hollywood shut down for a couple of years, and then it's been slow going, getting back going again. But that will be produced hopefully in 2023, and if that hits, that will send me to a different level. And until then, I've got my partner in crime, Vincent Rutley, who yay, the greatest. I happened to meet this amazing human being, and who's become one of my best friends and business partner and actor and producer and director. He directed Beans. We've got a bunch of different things we're doing with History Channel, hopefully, and we just finished Beans, I finished the show Bible, so we'll be sending that out to some producers and just start and doing we've got a bunch of local projects that we're going to be doing, but everything we do with the thought of selling it, of doing something with it, selling it to Hollywood. We did this last project Beans, as a proof of concept. So the set that you were on, which is just well, it's a proof of concept that we send with the show Bible to try to get somebody from Hollywood to like the project enough to put the money up behind it to shoot. So we got a bunch of things going on, and I've still got a laundry list of projects on my hard drive. I just, at this point, I need an agent, and I'm working on that, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. And if that happens, then I have somebody to go sell it, because that's the other side of this. It's the creative side is the easy side. The business side of this is Hollywood. I had a very, very good business career, and I was very successful in business, but nothing is like it is. Business is tough. It's tough, you know, but nothing is like Hollywood. Hollywood is its own level of screwed up and tough.
Well, what's cool is you're the creative. You're very good at it, and partnerships and networking are so powerful. And there's someone out there that's just as powerful in the business aspect of it. So finding that match, I know you'll be able to do it because you're just an amazing human being and you draw people to you. So finding that match that can go out and sell what it is that you've created, because you're an amazing writer. It's always a pleasure if I get to sneak a little bit of your work. So I'm excited to see everything that you have coming. One question I'm curious about, because you go into these things where you just write. Now that it seems like kind of a transition where things are getting produced and you're involved in that process as well, does it deter you from writing, or is it a distraction, or are you able to kind of still have the time to write while you're doing this? How are you able to kind of put your attention on both things?
It's more that life shows up, because those 5 years I was telling you that I spent with my dog Buddha, and just, I mean, I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a place to live every once in a while, but all I did was write from the time I got up in the morning till the time I went to bed, with the exception of eating and hanging out with my dog. That's all I did. And it was an amazing time, and I was able to create so many projects. But I had no life, you know, outside of that. And it was okay. It was almost like I was living my life through my characters and through the stories. And then when I finally decided, you know, I've got to get a life, you know, I had gained 40 pounds, you know, and I didn't even know it. Like one day I looked in the mirror and I saw this big old gut, because all I was doing was sitting around. So I'm like, gosh, and I really would like to maybe like go out with a girl once in a while or something. So I decided to, and then life came in, and then that's what was really the distraction. It's not the business side of it, because that's still movie business. It's, you know, now I just connected with an amazing girl that I probably going to be spending the rest of my life with, and so that, you know, she lives out of state, so, you know, I'm doing these trips, and, you know, so it's life shows up, and I have other ways. I am in the halfway house. I work. I give people who are getting clean and sober, men who are getting clean and sober, a place to live. So I have a couple of those homes, and I've got another one I'm opening. So all these other things. It's life that shows up, and the thing that kills creativity more than anything is distraction. Truly, yeah. You get distracted because you get in a zone when you write, you know, and then you get distracted and it throws you off. So there's something to be said about having no life and just being a writer and never putting on anything but pajamas, which I still, well, you can't see underneath there, but I'm still got my pajamas on. Because today I did. Yeah, right.
I live the same way, man. Just beanie and sweatshirt all day long.
Right. The life of a creative person. Absolutely. Awesome. So well, yeah, it's more life that is distraction than the business side. Although I really would love an agent, because I don't want to be involved. I'm not good at that. Like Vince is great with people.
He's so good.
You know,
He's so good at
he's
so many things.
so amazing to talk. You know, that's a great reason why we are such a good pair, is because, you know, he's good with people and the business side and the directing side. And I would love to just sit around and create all day long, you know.
That's awesome. And that's the other thing too. I don't know if it's allowed to be mentioned, but you're also a musician, right?
I'm a drummer. Yeah.
That's awesome. So just creativity constantly flowing out of you. It's awesome. It's beautiful.
I love it. I love creating things.
That's great. Well,
I really do.
I appreciate it. The one question I do have is if you can offer any bit of advice, because you're primarily in the writing, and that's kind of what we're focusing on here, to any writers out there, or sometimes, you know, aspiring writers, if they might label themselves as such. What is it that you would be like, I guess, the biggest recommendation if they're wanting to get into the film industry through writing?
You know, Tarantino said, I didn't go to film school, I went to film. And I've spoken to a couple of people who taught classes, one guy from USC, one guy from UCLA when I was in California. And he said, he goes, I know within the first week, there's maybe one or two people in each one of my classes that even has a chance, you know, because they have that creativity. The format is easy to learn, those kinds of things. But and it said that 10,000 hours is what you need to do to master something. So just write and write and write and write and rewrite. And rewriting is really the key, because vomit out the first draft of whatever you're doing. Don't worry about typos, don't worry about anything, just vomit out the story. And then you will go back and you will rewrite it 100 times before and then it's just about perfect. Then you give it to other people and they're going to give you notes. And I mean, it's a process, and it's, you know, it's nothing. I mean, there are those people that, like, I mean, I happen to sell the second, third, and fourth scripts that I wrote, but I'm 10 times the writer that I am now than I was back then. And just because I've spent so much more time writing. Those scripts got purchased because of the story, but they still needed a lot of rewrites, and I put a lot of time into rewriting all of those. Just don't give up, and, you know, maybe take a class at a community college, but you don't really need to go to film school unless, I think film school is more for creative, or for camera work and stuff, to learn how shadowing and the lighting. I mean, it never hurts. Education never hurts, but just write. Just start writing, and don't stop, and keep creating new stories. And
Awesome.
It's worked for me.
That's wonderful. It did look like we had Angel stop by. I don't know if you're still here, Angel. Thank you so much. A ton of people jumped in here. So much great knowledge. Thank you so much, Geoffrey, for being on. And thank you for getting back on Instagram to do this. This is wonderful, and I'll be sharing in a lot of different places. Is there anything else that you want to share before we hop off here? No, I just, you know, I'm passionate about people who are passionate about things, and you know, I love your passion. I love Melanie's passion, and I try to work with people that are passionate about what they do, who set ego aside, who want to have a good time, and just have a great time with the film business. It's so much fun, and try to do as many things as you can. You know, when I realized how hard it was to get scripts produced and anything made, I started doing it myself. You know, and then just connect with the right people. The film business is a business of relationships, and it truly is. It's that person. It was like, how did I get
to meet one of the greatest producers of all time, a legendary producer from Schindler, won the Academy Award for Schindler's List for Best Picture. That was through a guy that I knew from high school that I connected with on Facebook after 40 years. So it's, you know, it's the relationships that you build along the way. So go to sets, meet people along the way, always be respectful and kind, and, you know, take business cards and connect with people on Facebook and on different chat platform, whatever platform, you know, and there's so many film groups and get involved in everything you possibly can, because that person that you met 40 years ago, you know, could be the person that launches your career, which is kind of what happened here. If CowBoy ends up getting picked up, which I hopefully was. So you never know when that's going to happen. So just go and be respectful, have a great time with the film business, and you know, regardless of whether you become commercially successful or you ever become a movie star, the most important thing is you have a great time and just make film and make people smile. That's really the best thing. That's the greatest thing about this business, is we're really here to make people smile and scared and laugh and cry and all the other, you know, the other things. But if we can do that, you know, if we can do that and we can touch people in that way, I mean, life doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
So true, so true. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for joining me here.
A pleasure having you. And I got it. You owe me brownie, you know.
I'll come by a cup of coffee this week.
Yes, you do owe me a cup of coffee. I bought you plenty.
Yes,
okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good night.
Bye.